Since Rome's founding by the twins of legend Romulus and Remus in 753 BC, the growing city-state of Rome knew nothing but conflict with its Italian neighbors, such as the Samnites and the Etruscans. Slowly, it spread its tentacles of influence throughout the peninsula, with its brave militia soldiers and its political intrigue. The city grew prosperous. With its expansion, the Senate and the people of Rome encountered a new enemy, the infamous Celtic people of Cisalpine Gaul. These people fought many conflicts with the Roman city-state. The leader of the Senones tribe, Brennus, even sacked and held the city itself for months in 390 BC, after routing the Roman army utterly in the field at the Battle of Allia. But this would not be the end. The Republic endured and adapted, as was their way. This would be a conflict of many with these giant, savage warriors who were almost unmatched in their strength, prowess, and intimidating nature. They also made their homes in the northern lands of the peninsula below the imposing Alps. They had no choice but to fight back, but slowly the Romans pushed their way north, subjugating or annexing most of the Celtic tribes. However, in the north, the Boii tribe brought together a confederation of fierce tribes to invade and ravage the young republic. The Boii called for the mercenary group the Gaesutai, the brutal, naked screamers from the far north, known for their bloodlust and savageness. They answered the call and marched through the Alps to join their Celtic kin in the march south against Rome. These Celts, with their brutal long swords and their long kite shields, would charge against the Romans. In the year 225 BC, the Boii and the Insubres, with their mercenary contingent of the famous Gaesutai, left their homes in the Po Valley, mobilized to war by the theft of their lands by Rome's laws. They left the Po Valley with a massive host of 50,000 infantry, mostly lightly armed warriors with spears, axes, the feared Celtic longsword, with kite or round shields. However, they did have with them a contingent of heavily armed and armored noble retinues. They also fielded 20,000 elite Celtic cavalry, who were more heavily armored with chainmail and ornate helmets, and with similar weaponry to their infantry counterparts. They burned and ravaged the city-state of Etruria in northern Gaul, eventually meeting the Romans on the field at the town of Clusium in 225 BC. The Celts made a feigned retreat in the dead of night, falling back to the town of Faesulae. The Romans, thinking they were on the run, gave chase. The Romans met the Celts at Faesulae and found them atop defensive obstacles. With the advantage, the Celts beat back the Roman forces. The Roman forces retreated back to their camp, leaving 6,000 dead. The Roman consuls for the year of 225 BC, Tilius Regulus and Aemilius Pappus, mobilized a massive force of Roman citizens and their Italian allies to meet the Celtic invasion. They mobilized 101,600 infantry, armed in the plebeian fashion, along with 6,400 cavalry. Pappus soon arrived in the defensive camp of the survivors of the Battle of Faesulae, and Orestes, one of the leaders of the Gaesutai, persuaded the Celtic chieftains of the Boii, Insubres, and Taurisi tribes to withdraw along the Etruscan coast with their booty to wage war when they are unencumbered by all of the loot, rather than lose it in the face of defeat to the Romans, and also to speed their advance towards Rome itself unencumbered by so much weight. The consul Aemilius Pappus gave chase and harried their rear, but refused a pitched battle. The other consul of the year, Atilius Regulus, crossed from Sardinia at the town of Pisa with a similarly sized army to Pappus, consisting of 4 legions of Roman citizens, 6 of Italian allies, and several thousand cavalry. His scouts made contact with the Celtic army's advance guard near Telamon. Regulus put his troops in fighting order and advanced with haste to try to occupy a hill above the road which would block any way of the Celts retreating. The Celts were completely unaware of Regulus's arrival from Sardinia. They assumed Pappus had sent some cavalry to occupy the hill, so they sent some of their own cavalry, and supported by some light infantry, charged the hill. To their surprise, they found another consular Roman army. Hence they deployed into 2 lines. The Gaecitae and the Subres facing Pappus in the rear, and the Boii and the Turissi at the front against Regulus. The battle for the main hill was fierce and bloody. Pappus tried to send assistance in the form of cavalry, but it was too late. The consul, Atilius Regulus, was beheaded, his head being brought back to the Celtic leaders as a bloody trophy. Eventually, they won possession of the hill, and with that, the Roman infantry advanced against the double line of Celts. With javelins, they devastated the ranks of the Gaecitae, who were lightly armored with only spears and shields. They then sent the Hastati forward. The Boii and Subres and Turissi held their ground with great courage and forced the Hastati back. The Romans then sent in the more experienced and better armed and armored Principes. They ground the Celts into the ground, but still the Celts held. Finally, the Roman cavalry hit the Celtic army in the flanks, and instead of retreating, the Celtic infantry chose to die where they stood. And that concludes the Battle of Talamon. It was a devastating Roman victory, and Pappus was awarded a triumph upon his return to Rome. In the battle, 40,000 Celts were killed, and 10,000 were taken prisoner. The losses on the Roman side were so much less, with only 6,000 killed and countless wounded.